going on road trips. So that's how I got around to writing my first novel. So I have taken from my experiences of traveling while writing this novel, and it comes from, of course, the sea of my experiences, and it also comes from, the depth of my emotions, because the characters that I have written about, they also, their lives are not so straightforward. Neeti says, Neeti is one of the characters in the book, and she says that life is a journey. But in this journey, sometimes we find that we are mere passengers. We end up on paths that we never chose. And that's what the last couple of years have been like. We never expected that this would happen. Neeti says that, life was not supposed to be like this. So she's someone who's stuck in a situation that she didn't want to be in, but she's just trying to make the best of the situation and live her life and, still pursue happiness. And so this is quite literally a road trip, and also Neeti's journey in her pursuit to happiness.
Like very, very truly said that, sometimes you become passengers in life and see what's on the plate. So I would like to ask Pinaki sir that how has the different experiences that you have faced in life, since you have had a very, diverse kind of a journey. So what those different experiences, how did they influence your writing and your writing style?
Uh, See, what happens is when we grow up in a society, so we absorb everything that we see and feel around. So my journey is also the same. From a small town to the national capital, working in different roles into marketing. I was a teacher initially when I started my career, and then I moved on. So everywhere I had been, and the best part of it is that wherever I had been, it has been a cosmopolitan culture or a very ethnic culture. From Bengal, from to Sikkim, then I had been to Nainital, then I had been to Hyderabad, Indore, Delhi. So there are very different cultures, and there's a cultural diversity that I had witnessed, I had seen. So naturally, all these things have reflected in my writings. The first book that you spoke about, which is The Mountains to Manhattan. This is a unique story, a story of a young girl who actually this is a three-generation story, but the main protagonist is a young girl who was born in Ladakh, and from Ladakh she traveled to Bailakup near Bangalore, from there to Delhi, then to Austria, different places in Austria, and then finally to Manhattan. And then her grandmother actually came from Tibet. So all these things have reflected uh, about how I was brought up, and those have been reflected in my book. Say I come from a place, as you said, very close to Darjeeling. So Darjeeling district has got a lot of Tibetans. So I was very well acquainted with their culture. Not very aware distinctively when I was growing up that they are Tibetans. They are different from the Nepali people or the Sikkimese people. But I was very aware of the culture, how the type of names they have, the type of food they eat, the type of work they do. So all those have been reflected. So it is not only me, my journey, but it is also the people around. I think it is for every author that when we write, it is the people around us that they shape us actually. The situation, the circumstances in our family, in our workplace, in our school, the way we are brought up. So everything influences our writing. I cannot write about something where I have never been to. Been to means a situation. Say, I come from a very normal middle class family. So my writings will reflect the thought process of a very middle class society. I cannot write from a different society. If I have to write, then yes, definitely I can write. But then I have to go there, be there, stay there, and understand then to write that. So and that is to me for each and every author who writes. Otherwise, if I do a job like that, then I will not doing justice to my work. My work will not be that good, will not be appreciated. So that is how, as an author, our life, our journey, moving into places that all put together reflects in our work that we do.
Absolutely. Like you talked about, like how did the culture of the place and the landscape in general shapes a person in general, and then which also is trickled down into his or her writing. So my next question is also on the same lines, that it's to both of you, but I'll start from Benuka ma'am. So how did the political and cultural heritage, or you can also add the social elements to it, of the places that you have been in, or you have lived in, how did they trickle down in your writing, and how did they shape your books and your stories and characters?
So for me, this first book that I've written, You're Stuck With Me for Life, this book is based in the city that I'm living in right now. I'm living in Indore. I've been living here for several years now, but I did not grow up in this city. And I didn't grow up in this community. My husband is like an entrepreneur. His father started a business. So I interact with these people now, but I grew up in an academic life. Like my father was a professor. I studied a lot. I did a PhD. I was in the sciences. So I grew up in a different place, but now I'm in a different place. So now when I see the life here, there's so many things that are obvious to the people here, which are striking to me. Like for instance, once I used to do my postdoc at IIT Bombay many years ago in Bombay, and my husband used to live in Indore. And so I used to travel this Duronto train, Indore to Bombay. There's this Duronto like direct trains that they run. And I used to travel by that train, and the train used to reach Indore pretty late, and sometimes it would be late, like 10 baje pahunchna hai, 12 baje pahunchegi. And I used to travel alone. So when you're traveling alone, you meet a lot of people, and you end up talking to more people because you have no companion to talk to. And I used to end up talking to a lot of people and interesting stories. And once I started talking to this old couple, and they were like, अच्छा बेटा इंदौर जा रहे हो, कहाँ रहते हो, blah blah, and oh वहाँ वो ज्वेलर की दुकान है, हमारी बेटी बहू है उस घर की. And so it was striking to me as to, for them, the most important thing about their daughter is कि वो इस घर की बहू है. And a lot of people are talking about these things right now. Like, how that should not be the only defining property of a woman, ki wo is ghar ki bahu hai. But then after that, the thing that I heard struck me even more, because he was like, अरे मेरे बेटे को भूत सवार हो गया था विदेश जाके पढ़ने का. Right? So I was like, maybe, he didn't want, he was like, हाँ बेटी को बहुत ज्यादा मत पढ़ाओ क्योंकि फिर husband कैसे मिलेगा. But then I was like, maybe बेटा होता ना तो ये कहते खूब पढ़ो. But then he started talking about बेटे को भूत सवार हो गया विदेश में जाके पढ़ने का, पर वो विदेश चला जाता तो मेरे किस काम का होता. I have a family business and my son needs to inherit that from me. And that's when I realized how it's not just the women, but also the men whose lives get constrained in this society where the parents are, there's so many expectations. The son cannot follow the career that he chooses. He cannot study what he wants to study. He was like, अरे मैंने उसको बोला मैं पैसे नहीं दूंगा तुम विदेश जाके पढ़ोगे तो, पर अरे उसे फेलोशिप मिल गई. I was like, oh, so then did you let him go क्योंकि फेलोशिप मिल गई. अरे नहीं, मैंने बोला, तुम मेरा मरा मुंह देखोगे. I was like, what is this? So it is like the parents will go to this great extent to hold on to their kids, because for them their kids are kind of like, ये हाथ से निकल जाएंगे तो हमारा फैमिली बिजनेस कौन दिखेगा, लड़की हाथ से निकल जाएगी तो समाज में क्या होगा हमारा. And so there is this, but the kids are not always like that, because they go to college, they meet so many different kinds of people, they want to live a different life. And so many times it will happen, like, there is this guy, kind of an acquaintance. His father had this particular business and he was not interested in doing that. And after college, he got a job in Bombay, and he went to Bombay and he lived there a few years. But after a few years, his parents started emotionally blackmailing him. हमारे business का क्या होगा? तुम्हारे पापा की तबीयत खराब है, सब छोड़ के आ जाओ, because then, so there is this kind of struggle, because the society keeps changing. Because, आज के डेट में हमारी लाइफ अलग हो गई है, distances are shorter, people, job opportunities are more and all of that. But what about those people who have invested, the parents who have invested 30-40 years of their lives in this kind of a mindset कि हमने ये family business खड़ा किया है for our kids. But when those kids are not interested, what do they do? So there is this kind of a cultural situation which was new to me. Like, there are many people who live these lives. This is very, very normal. Lots of people face this kind of stuff. But for me, it was something new. So it was very striking to me. So when I started writing a story, the guy in this story, the male protagonist, Ronit, he's in this kind of a fix where he has to pick between his dreams and his responsibilities. He wants to pursue a particular career. He gets a job in Bombay. He goes there. He works at that job. He's happy. He finds someone. He wants to get married to someone that he's fallen in love with. But then, Papa ko heart attack aa gaya. Papa survived the heart attack, but he's now like, I can't take care of the family business on my own. Beta, sab chhod ke ghar wapas aa jao. And now his girlfriend is like, what the hell? We were supposed to build a life for ourselves in Bombay. I'm not going to be one bahu in one joint family and blah. And she breaks up with him. So he loses everything in his life because older generation and newer generation ke expectations, they are different. The kind of life that they expect, they want, it's different. And that can be very heartbreaking for many people. There's some people who just rebel outright, but not everyone will do that. Because, usko bhi aisa lag raha hai ki, my parents, how will they manage? He has a younger brother who's still in school. Maybe when he grows up, he will want to take care of this business, but he's not ready right now. So how can I abandon my family right now? But then there's this life that I want. So I love these kinds of things, in the culture that I've seen in Indore. And a lot of those things have trickled into this, like how the old lifestyle of the joint family and this new aspiration of kids to have a life of their own and space of their own, how those things clash, and how you have to sometimes just compromise and make it happen, because then you have to sometimes understand the older generation bhi kitna adjust karenge ek point ke aage, and the younger generation bhi, fine, they have to fight for some amount of freedom ki bhai kuch to hame apne man ka karne do. So I've seen that kind of a cross generational struggle in the community here, which has kind of reflected in the characters that I've portrayed in this book.
That was a really good perspective on the stereotypes that constrain the lives of people in society. So, what about you, Pinakie sir? How has cultural
See,
heritage?
yeah, whether the political or the cultural heritage of the country influence us or not. It is not only the political and the cultural heritage, it is also the socio-economic system that we are being, that also influences us. It all together influences us. And definitely it influences. Just I'll tell you the two books that I've written. This book is completely influenced by a political situation where a Tibetan who is born in India is a refugee all through their life. Okay, so they are not given a citizenship according to all the agreements that we have at the technicalities. So they will be living here generation after generation. They will be getting some facilities, but they will be a refugee all their life. So they do not have a country of their own. So which is very, very depressing for any citizen, any human being to live on Earth. So they don't have a country. We do not make out the differences, but they do, and they are not privileged to have enjoy all the facilities we as Indians do. So they move out for a search of a citizenship, and they move to different European countries or USA, where citizenships are allowed under certain circumstances. So this is a book which has been highly influenced by the political system of the country, or the bilateral understanding between India, China, or US, or the European countries. My next book, Basket of Sunflowers, this is there are 7 stories of 7 young educated Indian women. Now, this challenges the stereotypes of the society, something what right now Venuka had mentioned. This challenges the stereotype of the society, and this is what the social influences work. Here, all the 7 women, most of them, challenges the society, challenges the norms that has been said by the patriarchy, and their voice is very clear. Yes, we have a choice, and we can live our life with our choice. We do mistakes, but we also accept that mistakes, and we do not regret for this, and we try to rectify that. And the society should not be telling us what to do and what not to do. If that is something is true for a man, that is also true for a woman, if when we're talking of equality. So all the 7 stories are that with just very strong characters, 7 women. So definitely our writing are influences by political and cultural system. And we as authors, or any I keep repeatedly telling you that any creative artist, our writings should influence, and we should try to make a point in every of our work that we do. Otherwise, there's no point being an author, because the stories that we write, they are not very unique. We all know that those stories, those stories come from the society that we live. So maybe exactly not the same way, but in and around on the same thing, we know those stories. Then what is the point of writing them down? The writing them down is because what we see and what is our point of view on those terms, and what we think that things should change. So that is very easy to say when you are saying through a story, people get it easy. It's far more easier when you say it through a movie. It's easy to understand, and all these are a part of our social movement that we all are doing, and gradually things are changing. Yes, the society that we had, say, some 200 years ago, and now there is a sea change, and I know that it will be changing more in another 200 years. So we all are influenced by the socio-political, cultural, economical circumstances or the heritage that we have. So it's undeniable.
That's
Is
really,
somebody else allowed to ask a question?
yeah, sure. Viewers also, yeah.
I have a question to both the authors. My experience is that literature often challenges the existing system, be it legal system, political system, social system, and literature tries to bring about a change. I want to ask both the authors, did they have any idea of the change that they wanted to bring about in the socio-political, cultural, economical arena of the country, or was it a spontaneous writing without these thoughts at the back of their minds?
I go first?
Yeah,
Because
please.
For me, writing my first book, it happened kind of organically. It was, if I'm trying to escape from my own reality, this book is giving you an optimistic point of view of what is happening in the society right now. I'm trying to write a story where I'm trying to show the bright side of things. But given the constraints under which my characters are living, most people will not find a happily ever after. Most people will not find that bright side. So when I was writing this story, I was just trying to analyze the kind of situation that I have observed in the society right now. And I'm just trying to highlight the kind of struggles that people are going through, that one generation is putting the next generation into, and how people have a hard time adjusting to it. So it's not like I'm not trying to give one lesson of life. I'm not saying people should do this or the country should change like that. I'm just saying that this is something that's happening in the society right now. Parents are making lives hard for their kids, and kids are, they want some different kind of life. And so, hopefully people will not put their own kids, hopefully the next generation makes it easier for their kids to live a life that they want to live. That's the hope. But I don't say that explicitly. I feel like that's the beauty of telling a story. Many people will take different things away from my story. Like some people will the mental health side will affect them more. For some people, the love story will affect them more. For some people, they will relate to the road trip. So different people take different things away from the story based on what they are looking for in life. What is the state of mind that these people are in right now? That said, I like to write fiction which is realistic stories that are reflecting what is happening in the society right now, so that some reader who is looking for something real about the society, some real problems in the society, they will find them in my book. Different people will respond to it differently. So that was my state of mind when I was writing my book.
Okay, to me, ma'am, yes, definitely when I write a book, definitely I keep that in mind that there's, I should be telling a new story in a new, rather a story in a new perspective, where I compel the readers to think about it. I do not claim, neither I can say that yes, my one book will change the society or change the thought process of people. But definitely over a period of time, they're progressive films. Yes, yesteryears we used to say them art films. Now we say progressive films. We have the books I write, they're all have female protagonists. Everyone is a female protagonist. So nowadays you have in the Bollywood, female-centric film, women-centric film. Very hard term to digest. A film is a film and it has a story, someone will lead it. So why do we emphasize on the term that it is a women centric? how does it make a difference if it is a hero or a heroine who is taking the lead? Because it is tagged in that way, because it is the stereotypes that we have in our mind, that okay, when a man leads a show, it's fine, it's accepted, but when a woman leads the show, then you have to underline it, make it into bold that this is a different story. So things are changing. So but what your as I said earlier, uh, change if I do not make a point while writing those characters, if I do not make a mark to the readers, those who are reading this, then there's no point to being a creative artist and do something creative.
I find both of your endeavor very challenging, because in a situation when everything is digitalized and people are reading less and less books, you guys are not demotivated. You are writing books. And Venuka, unfortunately, I have not read your book. I will buy it. But Pinakie, I've read both of your books and I was really overwhelmed by them. Excellent writing. So please carry on. There are readers somewhere, even in senior generation category, who would like to read and understand what the society is going through, and especially the younger generation, understand what they feel, what are the challenges they face. And Venuka, this was really an eye-opener that when we are all sympathizing with the senior citizen that they are being abandoned, children are not looking after them, so on and so forth, you have brought in a new dimension that there's too much of expectation and demands on their life, and they find themselves being stressed on it, which is a reality.